Hey, Libby.
Hey, Tony.
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty darn good. Why don't you tell us about yourself?
So I am Libby Addleman, and I am a French-trained pastry chef. I studied in France about 5 years ago, and I went to the Gastronomicon University.
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be making a couple of macarons for us today.
Yes.
Or sorry, macaron.
Macaron. So I'll be making 5 different macarons for us today, and then I'll be showing you the Swiss meringue buttercream that goes in it as well.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
Swiss buttercream, and the name of the cookie dough is?
The macaron.
Macaron.
Mm-hmm.
Done deal.
Yep.
Fantastic. And you're going to be showing us a couple of different versions where you do different shapes,
Mm-hmm.
different decorative styles,
Yes.
and then the different flavors on the center of the Swiss.
And I'll also be showing you how to color them as well.
Swiss buttercream. Different. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
I am going to humbly bow out and
Okay.
let you do the great work that you already do.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Okay, so now I'm gonna be teaching you guys how to make the macaroon base. So what we are gonna do is we are gonna start by sifting our powdered sugar and almond flour together. So what you're gonna need is you're gonna need a scale, and you're gonna need a container to hold it in while you measure out your almond flour. So what we're doing is 300 grams of almond flour. So you're just gonna pour that in till it is at 300. All right, and then once you have 300, I like to just put it in my sifter. So just put it in there. And then we're ready to measure out our powdered sugar as well. So you're gonna take that and you're gonna do the same thing. You're just gonna measure out, make sure you get 300 grams of powdered sugar. So it's equal, about 300 grams of powdered sugar to 300 grams of almond flour. So, and once you have both of those measured out, you're gonna go ahead and put that in there as well. And I like to have a big sifter, but I know not everybody has a big sifter at home. So, feel free to just do the almond flour sifting first and then the powdered sugar, or vice versa, just as long as they're sifted. And just a fun trick, I did this before the video. I put both of these in a food processor. So that also helps make the powdered sugar and the almond flour finer, and it's easier to sift that way. So now you just kind of sift until it's all gone. Make sure you work out before you do this. Your arms might hurt. Getting those last little bits of that almond flour. So once you have all of that sifted, then we are gonna start working on the next step. So now we are gonna get together our egg whites and our granulated sugar and put them in our mixing bowl. So I'm just gonna go grab my mixing bowl. And then I'm also gonna grab my burner as well, because we're gonna need that to heat up our sugar. You're also gonna need a handy dandy little thermometer. This lets us know when our sugar is at the proper degrees. All right, so now we are gonna start off by measuring our granulated sugar. So we're gonna need 300 grams of granulated sugar. And so then you're gonna pour that granulated sugar into your saucepan, like so. And then while we're doing that, we're also gonna add our egg whites into our mixing bowl, because you kind of wanna do both of these techniques at the same time. So you're gonna wanna whisk your egg whites while this also heats up your sugar. So we are gonna go get our egg whites from the fridge. All right, so now that we have our fresh egg whites, and I already cracked these eggs this morning, so now we're gonna measure our egg whites as well. Okay, so now we're gonna start by putting the egg whites into this. Make sure you tare your scale. And we're gonna do 113 grams of egg whites. And this is a little tricky because it can always go over and then you have to fix it. So there we go, 113. So we're gonna put 113 grams into our mixing bowl, like such. And then we want another 113 grams to put aside for this. So make sure you measure out another 113 grams, but we're gonna set that aside because we're gonna use that later. All right, perfect. So now we're gonna set that aside by our powdered sugar and almond flour. And then what we're gonna do is we need our cream of tartar to go into the mixing bowl, and our cream of tartar is right here. So then we're gonna do half a teaspoon of egg white powder. Make sure that's a teaspoon, yes. So you're gonna need half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. Make sure you level that bad boy out. And you're just gonna sprinkle it in there with your egg whites. So now we are gonna start by turning on our mixer at a low speed just to incorporate our egg whites and our cream of tartar or egg white powder. So while it's doing that, I'm gonna make sure to scrape down the bowl a little just to make sure that my egg white powder is being incorporated with my egg whites. And then turn that back on. And we're gonna measure out 75 grams of water. So again, make sure you use your scale and you're gonna wanna tare it so that it's equals 0. And then use your water. And we're gonna get, like I said, 75 grams of water. All right, perfect. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that water gets all incorporated up in our sugar. And then we're gonna put it back on our burner. And again, like I said with the thermometer, we're gonna make sure that it gets to a firm ball. So a firm ball is about 120 Celsius or about 250 Fahrenheit. So we're gonna add that in. And so while this is whisking up nicely into egg whites, we're gonna turn this on. And we're gonna make sure that this heats up. So you can just do this on your stove and make sure you just always consistently watch it until it becomes a firm ball. So now that our sugar is about to be a firm ball, we're just waiting on a couple more degrees. Then we're gonna pour it into our whisking egg whites. So we're gonna pour this in and we want them to be whisking. And we wanna pour in the sugar slowly as well. That way it gets incorporated and you're not gonna overheat and get egg whites instead of your meringue that you want. And so we are almost there. This is probably the longest process of making macarons. It's just waiting for your sugar to boil. So we're gonna move on this closer because I don't have very long arms. All right, so we are at our firm ball or our hard ball. So we're gonna take that out and then we are gonna slowly pour our sugar into our mixing egg whites. So you're gonna slowly pour it in. And again, this just helps it to incorporate better. It just helps the whisk to get everything around. And again, you don't wanna overheat your eggs or you'll end up with scrambled eggs and you don't want that. All right, we are almost finished with all of the sugar. And there are also a bunch of other ways that you can also make macarons. This is just one variation. There's a bunch of other meringues that you can do. Now we're just gonna turn our mixer up and we're gonna wait for this to turn into stiff peaks. So when you're making a meringue, the reason that it makes a stiff peak is because of all the proteins mixing together with the sugars to create that tough peak. And I like to just kind of eyeball it to make sure, you know, if you see it start coming together, forming that stiff peak that you want, you can always turn off your mixer, open it up, and you can also tell if you have a stiff peak by taking it and then flipping it around. Right here we have sort of a stiff peak. We are gonna whisk it just a little bit longer just to make sure we get that real stiff peak that we want. So again, we're gonna turn the mixer on. All right, so that looks good to me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and see, now it's a stiff peak and they aren't moving. So now we're gonna take this and we're gonna set this aside. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back to our almond flour and powdered sugar and our egg whites. And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna add the egg whites into our almond flour and powdered sugar. I almost wanted to combine all those. And then you're just gonna use your hand, or you can use a spatula, and you're just gonna whisk that around, make sure all of your egg whites gets incorporated into your almond flour and powdered sugar. And then of course, if you're using your hand with a glove, you can always just change out your gloves later. I like to use my hand because it gets in there really good, and I think it's a little bit better than using a spatula. But always make sure you wear gloves. All right. And so once you have it at that, once all of your egg whites are incorporated with your powdered sugar and your egg whites, you're gonna wanna change out your gloves. Nobody wants dirty gloves. So if you're making a plain macaroon base, you're just gonna add the egg whites that we just mixed. So you're gonna tap all that out. And then you're gonna scoop your egg whites into your base. So just like this. I like to add half at a time, just so I can get it really incorporated. So we're gonna do half, and then we're just gonna mix it. You're gonna mix it with your spatula, and you're gonna make sure everything is incorporated together. Just keep mixing. It's gonna kind of make like a nice paste together with your meringues and with your almond paste as well. And then once you have that mixed in, we're gonna add in just the rest of it to incorporate it. So make sure you scrape down the sides of your bowls. You wanna make sure you get all of your meringue. Always make sure to scrape down your sides. Make sure that all of your meringue is incorporated into your almond flour and powdered sugar. And so once we have it at this consistency, it's just a nice paste consistency, we are now going to color it and pipe it. So now we're gonna start making our macaroon bases and splitting them up and showing you how to do different colors and different designs. And I've made sure to clean up and make sure everything is put away because we don't want cross-contamination and because it's bad for the food that we're about to start making now. So now I'm gonna split the batter that we just made into about equal parts into each of these 5 containers. So the large batch that we just makes about 250 macaroons. And it also just depends on what size macaroons you're doing as well. Like if you desire bigger macaroons or smaller macaroons, then of course it's gonna yield more or less than what you're doing. But now, so that we have everything like this, we are gonna start coloring. And one of these, we're just gonna leave white as our base because we were gonna add some cocoa powder to it at the end. So now we're gonna start with these and we're just gonna start coloring. So always make sure that you use your gel food coloring when making macarons. The oil will mess up the base of the macaroons and they'll just come out cracked or misshaped. So you wanna just add a couple. I don't like to be too crazy with it because I like to see what it's gonna look like. So you just do a couple squirts and then you can always add more later. All right, and so now we're just gonna mix that in until we get it the right consistency, and you wanna make sure that you get all of it incorporated. So that is about the right consistency that I wanted. So I'm just gonna leave that how it is. We're gonna pipe that here in a second. So that's perfect. Some purple, feeling kind of purple. So we're gonna do one light purple and we're gonna do one dark purple. So we're gonna just do a little bit of the purple. We're gonna make sure we mix this in. And I'm gonna kind of do an ombre effect with this one. We're gonna do, light purple and dark purple just to show that you can do a mixture of both and make it come out like a cool swirl kind of unicorn pattern. So now that we have our light purple, I am going to get another thing because we are going to do dark purple off of this light purple. So you're going to put half in there and then you're going to add a little bit more purple, and we want to just make sure that this one's a darker purple so that we have that cool effect of when we're swirling them together so that both colors don't look the same. So we're gonna add a little bit more purple. And again, we're using the gel food coloring. And then you're just gonna mix that, and just to get it to the desirable color that you're looking for. All right, perfect. Now we have our 2 purples. And now I'm thinking, let's do like a light mauve color. So just a squirt of that in there. And again, we're just gonna mix it. So this mauve color is gonna be for a teddy bear that we're gonna make, a teddy bear macaron. And then the red one that we just make is gonna be for hearts and for our watermelon. And then now we have to make the other base of our watermelon, which is gonna be green. So we just need to finish up our green. So now we're just gonna squirt our green. All right, and then again, just mix it until it's the desired color that you want. All right, perfect. All right, and now we're ready to pipe. All right, so now we're just gonna clean up our area a little bit. So we're just gonna move this over here. We're gonna put our colors back to where we found them. We're also gonna grab our piping tips that are down here. And so now we're just gonna start by piping some of these out. For this piping tip, I like to use this one. I think it's a 804 style one. Use a piping tip so that you make sure that each of your cookies comes out really nice and perfectly in the same amount. And I have these silicone baking mats. They actually have the circles on them, but if you're at home and you don't have this silicone baking mat, or you just have a regular baking silicone mat, you can actually use paper and you can draw out your circles on there. You can draw out your hearts or whatever shape you're gonna do. You can also print them off online, and then I can show you that this shows up pretty well under this if you're gonna do that at home. So this just gives you nice clear circles where you can see. So basically you just pipe on the black line, and then the technique I'm gonna show you later, when you tap it, that's where it expands. So you don't wanna make your cookies too big, but for right now, I'm just gonna show you how we bake on this one that already has the circles pre-done for us. So what you're gonna wanna do with your piping bags is you're gonna wanna make sure you have your piping tip, push it way into the bottom. What I like to do is I like to twist it and then push it into the center of the pipe, into the piping tip. And then I like to get my scissors, and I just like to cut around the edge of this, like so. And then that way you have a nice piping bag. And then we are just gonna look for something to hold this. Get our nifty difty little thing. So this holds it quite nicely. That way I can you can also just use a cup at home if you want to, and just put your piping bag in that, or you can just have your mom and dad or somebody else, significant other, hold your piping bag for you. So right now what we are gonna do is let's just do the red. So we just wanna make sure we give that a nice 1/over. And then we are gonna push it into our piping bag. Make sure you get all of that in there. Okay. Now we're gonna pull it up. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna push the macaroon, you're gonna untwist it. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start piping. So start from the top, and then I like to move my way over and down to the bottom. So we're just gonna pipe, like I said, in that black little circle, and we're done. And I like to swoop the top a little so it gives it a nice finish. And just swoop the top. And again, we're gonna swoop the top, swoop. And you just keep doing that motion over and over again. So this is gonna be our watermelon, and then it's also gonna be our heart. So now that we've done the watermelon base, we're gonna do the heart. And again, you can get this template online or you can do it yourself. I'm gonna freehand it right now. And then I'm gonna use a little tool that helps me make the bottom of the heart. So we're just gonna do 2 little blobs and then go down. We're gonna do another blob and go down, okay? You're gonna do a blob, pull it down. You're gonna do another blob and pull it down. Okay, and you just kind of repeat that pattern. And make sure you have equal amounts of each one so that one cookie doesn't not have a partner. That would be really sad. And you pull it down. All right, so now what I'm gonna do for the hearts to make sure that the tips are nice is I'm gonna grab this. You can also just use a toothpick at home. Anything that kind of helps you just like, kind of just form the heart down at the bottom, give it a nice tip. So we're just gonna form it down at the bottom, make it look nice. Give it a nice tip, make it look more heart-shaped. And then so now we're gonna start with the other side of our watermelon. I like to do green for the other side. You can also just do red if that's how you're feeling. But again, we're gonna take our piping tip, put it into the bottom. Make sure we swirl that around, push it back in there. Cut off the tip of our piping bag. Get our nifty little holder. And then we're just gonna add our green in there. Now that we have our green, again, we're just gonna push it down, open it up. All right, and now we're just gonna pipe out some more. And I'm gonna do it on these little circles. The black, and you're just gonna swirl the top again, just like I said. You wanna make sure all of your macarons are uniform shaped. All right, perfect. And now I just have to clean my piping tips and then we can start on the rest of the colors. So now once we have our piping tips all cleaned again, we're gonna continue again. So let's start with the purple ones. So this one's really cool. So you just get your piping bag just like we did with everything else. Again, same thing. We're just gonna put a tip in, smush it to the bottom, and then we're gonna twist it off, stick that in there. This also, when you twist it, helps from any of the batter going in and you don't want it to fall out of the edge. So then we are going to cut it again. And then we're gonna put it in here. And so the trick to this one is you're gonna wanna put half of your dark purple on one side and half of your light purple on one. Or try the best that you can. So we are going to pipe this in. I'm gonna put this one on my left. It's nice, get all of that. And then we are going to do this light purple on the other side on our right. On the right side. And I also like to do a couple of extra just to make sure that I have the right color that I want when it comes out. So then you should have them together like this. And they should hopefully just squish together at the bottom when you pipe them, but see how it's dark purple on one side and light purple on the other. You can have some color mixing in there as well. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna pipe it just like everything else, like that. And some of them you're gonna wanna give like 1 or 2 of them a try before it starts coming out with the cool color that you want it to be. All right. And now, since we have our unicorn ones done, now we're gonna do our bear. So let me just move those to the side since we've already used those. And if you don't have a sheet tray as big as this at home, they also make these silicone mats in different sizes to fit different trays as well. All right, so we're gonna pipe the brown into the bag, or we're gonna put the brown into the bag for our bear. All right. And so for the bear one, we're gonna do one side of the macaroon that's gonna have little bear ears, and then the other side that's just gonna be plain. So, And to make sure that you have an equal amount, because you don't want to have one macaroon cookie that doesn't have a partner. That's just no fun. So we're gonna do one without, one, and then like little ears like that. And then one without, and then one with little ears, one without, and again, one with little ears, one without, and one with little ears. All right, and last but not least, we're gonna do our white one, and then at the end, we're gonna dust it with cocoa powder. All right, just gonna put this in our piping bag, last but not least. Squish it down to the bottom. And then again, we're just gonna pipe. Circle, and you're gonna wanna just twist it at the top. Perfect. So now, this is gonna get a little loud, but every macaroon tray that you have, you're gonna wanna make sure you bang it out. So you're gonna make sure that you wanna get all of your air bubbles out. That way it doesn't crack when it's in the oven. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab your baking tray, and this may get a little loud, so warn the people in your household. So you're just gonna bang it. You're just gonna bang it. And I like to switch it around to different sides as well, just to make sure it gets that even banging. So just bang it. All right, so now once they're all banged out, you're just gonna let this rest for 45 minutes or until it has a nice hard shell on the top. And also, if you see any air bubbles in your macaroons, you can go ahead and pop those. You're gonna wanna do that just because, like I said, they could crack in the oven and then all this time was just waste. I mean, they're still delicious, but you don't wanna crack macaroons. So make sure you get all those little air bubbles out. You can use a little toothpick or something that you found and just like get them out. And so now that these have been set for 45 minutes, we're gonna take them and put them in the oven. So follow me. We wanna make sure we preheat the oven at 300 degrees. And then you're gonna open this, slide them in, and then they're gonna bake for about 12 minutes. Okay, and so now I've taken these out of the oven. They're all perfect. I shaped them all together. I put them with their matching pairs. And I actually started to work on the bears a little. I gave them some eyes and a nose. And so I know that not everybody at home has copious amounts of bags, piping bags to reuse. So I'm gonna show y'all that you can put your chocolate or whatever you want for decoration into a little Ziploc bag. You just put it to the corner and then you just cut a little off. So now we're just gonna add the little mouth to the bear. So you're gonna wanna take your Ziploc bag and you're just gonna wanna be really gentle and just pipe the little mouth onto the bear. Just like that. And you're gonna wanna do that for each single bear. And feel free to have fun with this. I mean, they're your macaroons, you're gonna be eating them. So there you go, you have your cute little bears. And now I'm gonna show you guys how I do the watermelon effect on our little watermelon macaroons. So I have this black cocoa butter. You can get cocoa butter from anywhere online. So I'm just gonna pop this into the microwave to heat it up a little. It just needs a couple of seconds. So you always wanna make sure you check your cocoa butter, just look at it to make sure. You don't wanna put it on too long, so I like to put it in for 10 seconds, check on it, put it in for another 10 seconds and check on it. I don't wanna overheat it, and I don't want it to explode in the microwave on me, so. All right, perfect. And now that our cocoa butter is the nice consistency that we want, it's nice and melted, I'm gonna put it in this little warm bath so it can stay warm while I'm using it. So I'm gonna flip these over because I want my watermelon to be on the pink side. And then what we're gonna do is you can use a toothpick or something to just write to color on your macaroon. So again, I'm gonna take one of these little nifty ones and I'm just gonna dip it into my black cocoa butter. And again, this black cocoa butter is all natural and it does not change the flavor of the macaroons at all. Just like the coloring we used earlier, it doesn't affect how the macaroon tastes. The purple doesn't make it taste lavender, it's all one color. Unless you're using a different kind of flour with it, then that alters your taste. So you're just gonna take some of your black and you're just gonna do dots and you're gonna drag it like that. Dots and drag it. And feel free to get more cocoa butter as you need. And again, just have fun with this. These are your macaroons. You're gonna be eating them at home. You know, be creative, do whatever you want. Okay, so now that we have all of our macaroons painted and decorated the way that we want, we're now gonna fill them. So we're gonna take our piping bags and we have all of our different assortment of flavors that are gonna go into them. Again, this is just whatever kind of flavor you want to. I just match them with what color they were. So we are gonna do our watermelon, which is red. So we're gonna add our watermelon into our piping bag. I'm gonna use a cup, so you just put this in there, just so it holds it for me. It's a little bit easier. We're gonna take our room temperature buttercream. We're gonna put it into the bag to pipe. Okay. And then I'm not using piping tips for this. I just feel like it's easier if you don't. So then we're just gonna snip off the top. You don't wanna do a lot, just a little, just to snip off the top. And then you're gonna take each macaroon and you're gonna open it. And you're just gonna press your buttercream in there, just enough. And then you're gonna just push softly so that they mush together. And again, you're just gonna do that with the rest of your macaroons. Just a little bit inside and then close the top on it. And then you're just gonna close the top on it. And you can always fill them with more filling or less, just depending on what you like. I like a medium amount of filling, so I just fill them to the medium and then push it down. And then you should have that. Nice little cookie. And so now we're gonna move on and we're gonna do our bear cookies. So our bear cookies, I am doing with our vanilla buttercream. And so we are gonna get another piping bag. And again, we're just gonna have our buttercream. It's just gonna go into our piping bag. You wanna make sure it's room temperature. If it's not room temperature, it's a little hard to pipe into your macaroons. So always make sure it's room temperature. And again, you're gonna push it down, just twist it so none of the buttercream comes out. And then you're just gonna snip off a little bit of the top. And then again, you just use that same technique. You just come up, you open up the top, you put the buttercream in, and you close it on up. Close it on up. And there you have it for those. All right, so now I thought for the white one, it would be awesome if we added a little bit of cocoa powder on top. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your little whites, and I have my nice little cocoa powder, but all you gotta do is just sift a little over the top. And this just adds a little bit of extra flavoring. It also adds a cool effect that you have for your macaroons. So it just needs a little, you don't need a lot, just enough and on the top. So then you put those back on your thing. I got a different sheet just so I didn't get cocoa powder all over my other macaroons. And unlike the cocoa powder, the other flavors, the coloring doesn't add any flavoring. It's whatever flavor you wanna put in there. So again, I'm just gonna use my vanilla buttercream. And we're just gonna pipe again like we did for the bears. Just pipe a little and put that top back down. And again, you can just get in the motion of it if you have a bunch of them. Sometimes I like to put the tops on the side, and then that way I have a bunch that I can do all in one row. So now I'm gonna show you the hearts. We're gonna actually do a raspberry jam for this one. It's a little different, not a buttercream. And also our buttercream is made with butter, sugar, and egg whites, and it's over a double boiler, so it's a Swiss meringue. And then so for this one, I'm gonna put this in another piping bag. Gonna put our vanilla off to the side. And again, we're just gonna do like this. I thought it would be cool since the hearts, it had a little different flavor. Thought raspberry would be nice. So we're just gonna pour enough to go into our piping bag. Again, you want this to be at room temperature. You always want stuff that you're piping into your macarons to be at room temperature so it's easy to pipe. You don't wanna be sitting there trying to push out your filling when it's hard. So again, just a small cut. And then we're gonna open our hearts. And then we're just gonna pipe our raspberry in there. Pipe it like a heart so that it goes in. And then you just close down the side. And again, with the next one, you just pipe in your red hearts, close it down. Alrighty. And now for our unicorn one, I thought it would be cool if we combined 3 different colors. And also I thought, you know, if you want to, you can always add a tip to your things to give it a cool effect. And so for this one, we're gonna add 3 different colors. We're gonna add our red, our white, and then our pink that I made. So we are gonna squish that into one side, like so. And then we're gonna squish our white in there like so. And then we're gonna put our pink in there. Alrighty, and what I like to do is to make sure that everything comes out evenly so you have the nice pretty colors and textures all mixed together, is I like to do a couple rounds. So just like pipe it out and just see how it looks like that. And just pipe it out. So once I have it the color that I want, I'm then gonna pipe it onto my macaron. So I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna pipe it like that, and it makes it pretty. And then I just smush it onto my macaron. And then see, it makes a little bit of a different design on the outside of your macaron for people. So it's just a fun little extra twist that you can add. All right, and there you have it. All of our macarons are filled. That's all that's left to do is eat it. Oh yeah. Yay!
Excellent.
Woo!
Good job. Scene 1, take 1.
Hey, Libby.
Hey,
Oh, that was a little bit of voice crack.